This exhibition, more than some of our other exhibitions, I would say, is a bit of a think piece. The goal is to provoke people to think about the behaviors of a lot of very ordinary people during the Holocaust. It raises questions. There are not always set answers. There's a tendency to reduce everything to Hitler and Nazi leaders. The other thing is to attribute it all to anti-Semitism. It's very, very difficult in general to read into motives. So we raise these questions.
One of the elements about, quote, typical Holocaust history is it tends to be divided up between perpetrator, victim, and bystander. I think over time, as we keep looking at this history, the term bystander becomes less and less effective as a way of understanding what takes place in this history. There is a way of looking at this history about ordinary people in ordinary circumstances, or what seems to be an ordinary circumstance, what is going on even further away from that core experience. This exhibition really talks about the folks who at a local level find themselves caught up in the events that end up being part of the Holocaust story. The challenges in creating this exhibition were many. Largely, there is no coherent or very concise body of scholarship on this subject matter. Susan Bachrach, the curator, had to read very extensively. Her bibliography that she developed is 175 pages long of things that she has had to go through to get at these nuggets of stories that have never really been synthesized in any one place.
People weren't forced to do what they do. Sometimes that's also the perception. People were just forced to do what they do. And we show in this exhibition that even though it sometimes took great courage, that people did have choices.
Every one of our special exhibitions we've now done here has its own look. And it's one of the great joys of working with the designer who comes with fresh eyes and looks at this content and comes up with these wonderfully creative ways of being able to express that and move concepts that are on paper into 3 dimensions.
The space itself was a challenge. It only has one entry and it's a long corridor. And what we actually did there is we created oversized scaled images of class pictures of companies all gathered together for a picnic. Very innocent, kind of happy gatherings. And then you hear an audio, voices of some of the survivors talking about that person. It's my best friend. And then we highlight just a few individuals on those graphics.
Any group photo that we have in this exhibition had to have at least perpetrators in it, or collaborators, or onlookers. And one of the goals of the exhibition is to get our visitor to look beyond maybe what's the center of the photo, which is what's happened usually to Jewish victims. We want them to look on the margins to see what was making all this possible.
The notion of neighbors came from testimony given to us by one of our survivors. The phrase, "some were neighbors," is his, and we quote it in a couple of places in the exhibition itself. They worked together, they lived in the same community, they met in the same stores and shops, yet there was this huge turn, one against the other.
Wherever we can, we try to show these individual, the range of behaviors and the different choices that people made. For example, we have a policeman who turned over Jews during Kristallnacht to SS. And that's side by side with the story of a police officer who protected a Jewish family from harm. Testimonies kind of turn the tables on visitors' common expectations. We have the story of someone who was actually being hidden in Germany, which is very hard.
Our friend Heinz knew somebody that was a manager of a factory, and he was able to get my brother a room above the factory. And my brother would work there. Unfortunately, this man also was embezzling money from the factory. And in order for his boss not to put him in jail, he decided to call the Gestapo and say that his boss was hiding a Jew up in his room. And that's how the Gestapo found my brother.
We're looking at ranges of behaviors, we're looking at ranges of motives. What encouraged people to take the actions that they did? What were they thinking when they were doing this? We hope that visitors actually spend some time thinking about the questions that are actually posed in the exhibition. While we never say, what would you do? It's what will you do?
That was my girlfriend. We used to go together, have fun together.
This was a boy that grew up with me.
And among them was some of the people he went to school with.
We were friends, I thought.
They were neighbors.